Welcome in, everybody, to the Flagship Podcast interview. I am Chip Brown of Horns247.com, joined by Riley Dodge, head coach, South Lake Carroll High School, and son of Todd Dodge. And Riley, I've known you since you were a player, and it's been great to watch your career ascend. You were OC analyst at Texas, and then, you're moving on up, and now you're the head coach at South Lake Carroll, and that's where you won a state championship with your dad in 2006. Does that seem like just yesterday for you, or does it seem like a lifetime ago? Because you're only 33.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like a lifetime ago, just with starting your own family, having 3 kids, and I get a reminder every day when I walk through the hallways of all of our great memories.
Yeah, I mean, take me back to 2006. What was that like? Because your dad is, he's legend. We'll get into his career and what that means to you, and the fact that y'all faced off in a state championship game. I mean, the Dodges are the first family of Texas high school football. But take me back to 2006 and what you remember most about that season. You're the quarterback at South Lake Carroll. You win the state championship, but what do you remember most about that season?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable year. I was a part of the 05 team. I was kind of a Swiss Army knife on that team with Greg McElroy as our starting quarterback, played receiver, a little running back, and played returner. So it was a little bit of everything in 05 as a sophomore. And then I knew obviously going into 2006, Greg's leaving, and it's going to be my show. And being a coach's kid, and Chip, we've talked about this, and that's all I've ever wanted. And all I want to do was I want to be a coach kid and play quarterback. And I didn't care if that was at South Lake Carroll or at Cameron, Texas, and for being a yeoman. But it was surreal. I mean, we had a magical run. We had a great football team, and then go all the way to the state championship and finish the deal against Austin Westlake. And that's another storyline in itself back in 06. But it was a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, now, were you the one who threw up in the middle of the game?
I was.
Okay, so take me back to that, because that's amazing. Like, I know it's a little gross for our listeners and our viewers, but take me back to the circumstances of that, because I don't think you came out of the game.
No, I didn't. No. So kind of leading up to that, I was I threw for a ton of yards, but I was also I was more of a dual threat. I could run a little bit, and I got banged up against Odessa Permian. I think it was the 3rd round. So I had a bad high ankle sprain, had a couple broken ribs, and they were bandaging me up, each and every week to get me to the field. And I started feeling a little bit healthier, going into the state championship game. The adrenaline was pumping, the ankle was feeling okay. And so I started running around a little bit, and I was pretty dehydrated. I hadn't run like that in a long time. And, it was late in the 4th quarter, and, they were in a 0-man coverage, and we had a great, call at the time. And I just knew that I had to get the ball snapped and threw up and made the play. So yeah, that's something a lot of people want to talk to me about.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry about that. But it is kind of amazing. Like you see he's calling audible, and then he's like, okay. Yeah. On 3,
Glad I went. Glad I went for 6 instead of like an incompletion or ball hit me in the face. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the positive end to the story, is that it was a touchdown. But so you're playing for your dad, and then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but here you are. You're the coach at South Lake Carroll. He's the coach at Westlake, and you're playing each other in a state championship game in 2020. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, that's nuts. I mean, we've had some crazy stories. I mean, just inside of our own family. Amazing journeys for my dad, for myself, and in our playing careers and our coaching careers so far, and obviously with him retiring, some amazing stories. But that was unbelievable. And I think the really cool thing about that, they had an amazing team. We had a really good football team as well. We came up short. The crazy thing about that is and everybody listening to this podcast knows that the competition in the state of Texas. in Class 6A Division One in the state of Texas. I mean, we're biased here, but I think that path and that classification, that division is the hardest in the country.
Yeah.
It's the hardest road too. And for both of us to get there, for both of us to go compete for a state championship against each other is a very cool story. It was an amazing evening. I think it's something that when, 10, 15, 20 years from now, we'll get an opportunity to really look back on that. And, very, very special.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you look back, your dad retires from Westlake, 3 straight state championships. You know, what stands out to you about your dad's career and maybe something that goes unappreciated?
He hasn't batted an eye. I think everybody thinks with the run we had at Westlake, the run he had at Westlake, the run we had at Carroll, everything's been, rainbows and butterflies. Before we got to Carroll, we never made it. He never made the playoffs. He's grinding. He's an amazing teacher of the game. He has an amazing way to get his point across to his coaching staff. Amazing way to teach the game to 15, 18-year-old kids, so they can go out and play fast. But a guy that just even keel, never batted an eye. Adversity never really fazed him, and just very proud, to been a player of his, and then also to be his son.
Yeah, and he went through the crucible of playing quarterback at Texas, went 19-4 as a starter, but he came on this podcast. This is probably the first father-son, we've had on the Flagship podcast, but said, look, I was booed by 80,000 walking out of the tunnel before a game, and those same 80,000 were cheering me when I threw the winning touchdown pass in that game,
Yeah.
and those are formative years, Riley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 18 to 24, he comes out as the all-time, passer in Texas schoolboy history out of high school, and then, faces all that adversity. How do you think that also shaped him as a coach?
Yeah, I think it was everything. I mean, what an amazing crash course for an 18 to 21-year-old kid, to get ready for the workforce, and then also the work he's going into is a coaching profession. So I don't think probably there was anyone more prepared than him at that time to hop into it, and those are the same lessons he taught me. I mean, I'm also thankful that I got an opportunity to play the quarterback position. I think it prepares you for life. There's a lot of things you go through. Everybody wants to pat you on the back when things are going great, and then when things are going bad, you're going to be the scapegoat. If it's your fault or not.
Yeah.
So, but and that's the same thing with coaching. If everything's going great, you're the hero. If not, we all know how that goes. And so, but it definitely prepares you. And those are definitely life lessons that he taught me.
What did he tell you about his days at Texas?
Well, he absolutely loved them. I mean, but there was definitely ups and downs, right? So, always a story going. I think it was maybe the '83 year going into. They had hosted Auburn, Bo Jackson win, go on the road, beat another one, number one team in the country in Penn State, and won our roll for a while, and then obviously got beat by Georgia late in that year. And but yeah, ups and downs, but some great memories.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break here on the Flagship podcast with Riley Dodge. And if you're watching us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel, we'll roll on. And Riley, what, when you look back on that, I want to go back to the championship game where you faced your dad. Because that ended up being Quinn Ewers' last high school football game. And we'll get to Quinn Ewers because obviously our viewers or listeners are very excited about anticipation about Quinn Ewers. But when you go back to that state championship game, talk about the journey to that game in the playoffs and what was special about that team for you.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. We returned absolutely no one on defense. No one with experience, not even a backup had any experience underneath their belts. So we had zero coming back on defense. I believe we had 4 or 5 coming back on offense. Those 4 or 5 were talented, but not a ton of experience on offense. So early in the season, I mean, it was it was kind of trial by error. We were trying to figure out who we were as a football team. The kids, we just kept getting better and better and better, and just creating confidence inside of our field house. And we went on a run in the playoffs and started knocking off some really good people. Arlington Martin was very, very talented. They were a team that probably, uh, talent wise, definitely more talented than us. And then obviously going to beat Duncanville in the semifinals, that was huge for us. And I got COVID, missed the semifinal game. Quinn missed 8 games that year, so that's another testament to our program. I mean, we had two quarterbacks that came in and won playoff games for us, kept our season alive. Went on the road to West Texas, beat Odessa Permian without Quinn. Obviously we got Quinn back for the Arlington Martin game, and we went on a run. But it was a crazy year. COVID, obviously, that was a huge headline. But just very proud of our kids and the resilience that we had. And I think we're probably a year ahead of schedule on that 2020 state championship run.
Yeah, because I think your team was, I don't know, I was looking at YouTube, but I think your team was ranked 21st when you beat Duncanville, who was like 5th.
Yeah,
that was a win. No one had you winning, and then boom, you're in the state championship game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, obviously, going to that, we've played Duncanville every year since I've been here, either in quarterfinals or semifinals. That's going to be a huge roadblock for us. Something that we've had trouble with and got over in 2020. But yeah, not a lot of people thought we could get done besides the kids in the locker room, and they just fought their butts off that evening in Arlington.
What'd you learn about Quinn Ewers in that season?
Just tough as nails. Just kind of a freak injury. Had double hernia surgery after Keller early in district play, and just very unexpected. Flared up out of nowhere, and probably he rehabbed the crap out of his hips and found a way to get back. I think a lot of kids probably would not have come back. They would have hung it up and say, it is what it is. I'll try to find a way to get back next year. And the kid battled. And I think too, a lot of people like, what if, but the one thing I think people are going to see at the University of Texas with Quinn, I mean, he's a heck of an athlete now. I mean, the kid can really run. I mean, it showed up as a sophomore. We ran him quite a bit as a sophomore. He's a strider. He runs more like a quarter miler, but once he gets going, he can run away from people and just extending plays. And that's something he wasn't able to do his junior year really at all. And, it was frustrating for him at times, but I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise too. I mean, he really had to sit in the pocket and process things and go through it. And, I think the thing that comes up to me, obviously he's uber talented. He's got a lot of ability. But I think one of the prerequisites you want in a quarterback is a guy that's tough. And University of Texas got a tough quarterback.
And I mean, I watched a lot of film of your teams. You ran a lot of quick game. It looked like he had good touch on those little, tunnel screens, but then he could launch it too. I mean, talk about the variety in your offense and all the ways that his arm was utilized.
Yeah, I mean, he can touch 53 yards wide. I mean, he can touch every blade of grass in the field. He's one of those generational talents when it comes to arm strength. I think probably the one thing that's the most impressive thing about him is how twitchy he is as a thrower. I mean, he can put the ball in the perimeter, quick game, spits, RPOs, just really, I'm talking about 10 to 12 yards down the field, or from the line of scrimmage to 12 yards down the field, better than anybody I've ever seen in live. I mean, the ball is out and it is quick, and it's going to be an extension of the run game for the Longhorns. I mean, when you have a kid that's twitchy and you get the ball out of a blink of an eye, it really stresses defenses. He's not a slow blinker. I mean, he can really rip the football and get the ball out of his hands.
And what, I mean, obviously you had, you had talented players, but what kind of teammate is he? When things are rough, when things are down, how is he with the sideline and that kind of thing?
Yeah, he's an even keel kid. I mean, he really is. He's a fire competitor now. I mean, when he gets in between the white lines, but he knows as a quarterback, it's a long football game. I mean, he can throw a touchdown the first play of the game, and he can be the last, and you're gonna get the same reaction out of Quinn. And even on the sidelines, I mean, just he understands like he's hungry for more. And so you're gonna get an even keel kid, ups and downs. He's gonna be the same. He's gonna be the same dude, and he's a great teammate. He's a great teammate, but I think the one thing he's very consistent in who he is day in day out. He's not going to be someone who's not.
In terms of, I don't, and you tell me because I know everything advances as you move. But in terms of studying film and diagnosing defenses and recognizing when they're in man, when they're in zone, take me through that in terms of his development.
He takes the board to the grass very very quickly. He played a lot of football for us. Wish he could play one more year for us selfishly. But as a sophomore, I think you're trying to figure out, and I think it's the same thing. Sark's going to try to figure out with him during spring ball, fall camp, and once they get in the summertime, how much can this kid handle, right? And that was the same thing for me. As taking the transition from his freshman year to sophomore in high school, how much can we put on this kid's play? We had a really talented group that were around him, some really cool tools that we had. We had a tight end, Blake Smith, that went to A&M. We had a really good running back, so on and so forth. But as you went out, 3-4 games, like, man, we can put a lot of things on this kid's plate formationally, and let him make us right. So to answer your question, Chip, I mean, he's going to be able to do a lot, and kid loves the film room. He's a sponge. But the thing about Quinn, he's not a guy that's going to overpower you with questions. He's going to sit there. He's going to take notes. He's a sponge, and then you're going to see, like, is he taking it in? And then he's going to go to the grass, and he's not a bust guy. He's not a misassignment guy. He takes it seriously, but he's a smart cat.
And when when you see him in that, when things get, fourth quarter, one possession game, maybe down 3, down 4, what kind of, makeup does he have in those situations?
You got to check his pulse a little bit, to be honest with you. Sometimes I wanted him to be like in the guys' faces, and sometimes like I had to check myself internally. Do I need to calm down? Because this kid, I mean, he is ice, and he's going around talking to the guys, but I mean, it is cold, and he kind of reminds me of Joe Burrow a little bit. I mean, Joe's a fiery competitor. He gets after it, and but he's not a like just over the top obnoxious leader. And I think some of us know who some of those guys are. I mean, that's not who he is.
Yeah. What, I mean, in terms of his love of the game, like, I asked Serena Williams this one time at Wimbledon. I said, "Do you love tennis, or is this just something you're good at?" What do
Hmm.
you think in terms of Quinn?
Yeah, I think he loves the game. I think with him, I think that's all he likes to hunt. He likes to fish and play football, and um, he's not a. That's really about it. To be honest with you, he likes hanging out with his buddies, and he loves the game. I think this past year has been a tough one for him. It's been a challenging year for him. He's got a lot of people, wanting his attention, and but there are conversations, and kind of working through the process of everything. I mean, the kid just wants to play football, and we're trying to make the main thing, and he's got amazing people in his inner circle, and we're going to try to make this experience at the University of Texas fun for him.
Yeah, I mean, the decision to go to Ohio State, reclassify, go to Ohio State, you know, why do you think he did that? Because people were like, "Oh, he wants NIL money," but why do you think he did that?
I think it's a great question, Chip. I think, for me, like when it all went down, I wanted the best for the kid. I gave him my 2 cents, what I thought about the decision. And that's okay. That's what Quinn and his family decided to do. Decided to go to Ohio State, make that leap. Obviously, it didn't work out, but he's back where he should have been. Started off. In my opinion, and He's the best situation for him on and off the field, an amazing staff. I mean, who do you want more, to develop you as a quarterback than Steve Sarkisian? I've really enjoyed my time with Steve, talking ball with him, and I think Quinn's in an amazing spot as a quarterback. And I think that he's the first one. I mean, he's the guinea pig for it all. I mean, I'm sure one day there'll be a 30 for 30 on this thing. I mean, it was absolutely nuts. But I think he's handled really well. You don't see him in the media. You don't see him on Twitter. You don't see him on Instagram. I mean, I know he understands the opportunity he has, and he doesn't want to be one of those guys. He wants to be someone that's remembered for football, not NIL.
Yeah. And what do you think he gained? Obviously from what I've heard, it was not a great experience at Ohio State. He gets there. He didn't have any bonds with any of his recruiting class because he wasn't there with them throughout the summer and, most fall camp. And then I think he went through COVID protocol and it just was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But what do you think maybe maturity wise or appreciation wise that did for him?
I think with a little bit of back end of his junior year with his injury and then going to Ohio State, I mean, the kids experienced a little adversity in the last 9 months, something that he probably hasn't been accustomed to. I think leaving home, doing something different, and being very abrupt. I think that obviously it was planned out and thought out, but then when it happened, like, wow, like I'm not in South Lake, Texas more. I'm not a senior in high school. I'm a college football player. Essentially a professional football player now, right? And so I think that I think he's grown up in the last 9 months. I mean, he's a very mature kid to start off with, but when you start making these decisions, and I mean, big boy decisions, you got to take ownership of them, and I think he's definitely has.
So you mentioned it. He comes in, Steve Sarkisian, but we just talked about your dad. He lived the life of the Texas quarterback. There's probably no more scrutinized position in college athletics than the Texas quarterback, other than maybe the Notre Dame, Alabama, or Ohio State quarterback. But it's a lot. You grew up around it. The microscope, the glare, the 100,000 fans who are going to be coaching him on every down. How much expectation should there be in year one for Quinn?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not super in tune with, I obviously know Hudson. I think Hudson's a great player, but I'm not just super in tune with what they got on campus. But I think Quinn's he's going to make a push. He's going to make it interesting for everybody in that room. And I think he's going to make people around him better just by his talent. But, I think going back to the pressures of playing quarterback at the University of Texas, the 100,000, the scrutiny, what else would you want? That's, as a quarterback, as a competitor, you don't want to be anywhere else. Has it gone great the last, 10, 12 years? Not great. No, it hasn't, for the quarterback room as a whole. But I think you got a great head coach. You got a great quarterback mind in your head coach and the offensive play caller. And then on top of it, I think they're starting to build a little bit of a culture and a little bit of identity in that quarterback room and all exactly what they want.
Yeah. And it's the ground floor. In a lot of ways, because Sark is trying to build his culture, his identity. He gets this great recruiting class with offensive and defensive linemen and Quinn Ewers. It's, from a formative stage, you said he's quiet, cool. I'm sure fans listening to this are trying to picture Quinn Ewers in winter workouts and what his interactions like with teammates. If he's just going through off-season conditioning, what's his personality in that situation?
I think where he knows, and I just think the most comfortable thing, what way he leads, is leading by example. Trying to win every rep, being the first in line. He's going to talk. He's not just going to sit around there and not say a word. He's going to go slap them on the butt, and he's going to encourage. He's a great encourager of people. And I think the one thing that I noticed about him at a young age is when he was a sophomore, going to be a sophomore, going into that season, He was the youngest kid on our offense, and we had a veteran football team. A lot of juniors going to be seniors. That senior class was very talented. Went to go play college football, but they played a lot of ball together too. And here comes this young quarterback, and he was a magnet. Like that's the only person in the hallway they want to be around. That's the only person in the community they want to be around in the hallways. Like without him going over top, like that's who they want to be around. They want to follow him. That says a lot, you know. But I think with him, I mean, he's going to be a leader by example on and off the field. And being a great encourager of his teammates. But I also
And
think too, like he knows that he's the quarterback, and he's going to get a lot of attention, and he makes it for certain in that locker room. It's not about him. And I think that's also how you lead as a quarterback.
the mullet.
Oh man, bad look. Bad look. I've been trying to get that situated for about 3 years now. I mean, it's a situation. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a bad deal, and hopefully one day I think I might pull. I'm sure there's some people that love it, and there's some people indifferent, and then there's some people that just absolutely hate it. So I might next time I see him come with Austin, I might do a sneak attack with some scissors. We'll see.
What's the attachment?
He just rolled with it, going like around his sophomore year, and I was like, "What are we doing?" And now, I mean, obviously, being a quarterback in Southlake, we're not large. I mean, we're middle of the road 6A, but we're still a small town, small community. But everybody's a dragon, and everybody knows who the starting quarterback is. And here comes Quinn, and he's lighting on fire all over the place. Number one player in the country. He's got a mullet, and now every kid in Southlake's got a mullet. So
How about that?
all of his buddies start getting mullet. I mean, it's a definitely a bad deal currently in our field house.
So if we roll into
Not blaming
Southlake,
him, yeah.
if we roll into Southlake right now
Yeah.
and head over to the 7-Eleven or whatever, we're gonna see some mullets.
We are going to see some mullets. It's made a comeback in a bad way. I mean, I ask them all the time. I said, when y'all wake up in the morning, y'all look in the mirror, y'all like, man, I look good. That's what I'm like. Gosh, dang! I'm just trying to help you guys out. Like that's all I'm trying to do. I care about you guys. I'm just trying to help y'all out. And right now, it's not good.
Okay, so I mean, in the fans' minds, Quinn Ewers is already the starting quarterback, I mean, because he's the highest rated recruit since Vince Young. He has the same recruiting ranking as Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence led Clemson to the national championship as a freshman, even though they had tons of NFL talent everywhere. I mean, their receiving core was T. Higgins, Justin Ross, Amari Rodgers, Hunter Renfro. Forget that he had NFL players all around him. They just see the recruiting ranking, and they think, oh, Quinn Ewers, we're going to be way better at the quarterback position than we were a year ago. But from playing the position, you're coaching it, it's a lot. And Sarkisian's offense is a lot. I mean, you tell the fans what it's like to have to call all those motions, protections, and keep an eye on the defense in case you have to change any of that at the line.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think the first thing is obviously you got to get super dialed in to, I mean, he's in a brand new offense now. So, I mean, he's got to be super dialed into what, coaches coaching, and then also be, super dialed in to checks and, his guys and what his guys are capable of doing. I played the quarterback position, and, my most successful years playing the quarterback position were when I had like real dudes around me. That I can make a 5-yard throw and they take it 50. That's what I tell my young quarterbacks all the time. In the Dallas Morning News, it says, Quinn Ewers threw a touchdown for 50 yards, but it was a 5-yard touch, And so I think the biggest thing for him is obviously, with the whole quarterback room, they can have dudes in the room, but, he's got to be super dialed into the offense and the answers and, inside that offense. And when things don't look perfect, where do I go football, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, I think that the quarterback position is the hardest position to play in all of sport. And, you got to control a lot of different personalities as well. You got to lead in the right way, but you got to have some dudes around you for it to run.
Yeah, and that's, I think Xavier Worthy's a dude, and I think this Isaiah Nayor, who they got from Wyoming, from Arlington
Mhm,
Martin,
mhm.
who was kind of a late bloomer there, like, transferred in, was a basketball player. They found
Yeah,
him as, like, a sophomore and basketball player, put him into winter conditioning, and then no one knew about him coming out. I think he was with, it was, like, with Trayvon West, who went to
mhm.
OU, and another kid who went to Sam Houston State, but in that receiving core. But those guys will help. And then they got, young blood on the offensive line, and they're going to be growing up together in that from that 2022 recruiting class. Riley, what else? When you think of your time with Quinn, maybe highlights or the moment that people didn't really see that impressed you, or just kind of that anything else question that you think is important for people to know about Quinn Ewers.
I think he answered a lot of questions for me his junior year when he got hurt, um, and what he did behind the scenes when no one else was watching to get back for his teammates. I mean, that speaks volumes about someone's character. I mean, someone that flew all the way up to Pennsylvania to have double hernia surgery as a 18-year-old, come all the way back home, rehab, 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 could not touch a football, could not run for 8 to 9 weeks, and then was not fully cleared to play against Arlington Martin, who had one of the top defenses in the state of Texas, and could not run, still stitched up. What a warrior. But that answered every question I had for him. And the process after even the Arlington Martin game, from the quarterfinals to semifinals to state championship, what we had to do with him during the week to get him ready for game day, it was unbelievable. So, I mean, everybody's, people, the kid's been, under the microscope for a long time now. Number one player in the country, but that's not his fault. Like, he's just been playing ball, and you know, people are going to give him these awards and these stars or these points or whatever it may be. Um, but you're getting a great kid that loves ball, that's tough as nails, and when you have a guy that has intangibles and is tough as nails, and on top of very very talented, it usually works out. So now it's just about him putting his head down and going to work.
When you say the things you had to do to get him ready were like no one understands, and him still being stitched up, what was that? What was that preparation like?
The amount of reps that he got during the week was very, very limited. Because he was just so tight and so worn out from the week before. In the process of healing, I remember going to the state championship game against Austin Westlake. We really didn't know if he was going to be able to get me, because he took a beating against Duncanville. We didn't know if he was going to be able to. When he woke up the next morning, it wasn't good. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We were rolling with our backup, and he comes in light practice on Thursday, full on Friday. But we're talking maybe a full practice on Friday, but our practice on Friday is more of a walkthrough. So, but he was going to do everything he could to get on the field, and he gave us the best chance to win. And so we rolled with him. And so I told him after the season that I'll tell him to this day. He earned my respect. If he hadn't already earned it, he definitely earned it. As a junior in high school.
Is he a guy who will, as the quarterback at Texas, if you want to be the celebrity quarterback, you can be the celebrity quarterback. How would you describe his demeanor with the adulation? Let's say he pulls off something crazy like an upset win, over Alabama in week 2. I'm not trying to, but how will he handle the success? It sounds like you've laid out how he'll handle the adversity, but how will he handle the success, do you think?
Yeah, I guess that would be to be seen. I think that he's going to. Obviously, I was with Johnny Manziel at A&M, so I've been on the Manziel side of everything, Heisman Trophy winner, and then with Quinn. So I've had a unique deal in the last 10 to 12 years. Um, I'm telling you, like, he gonna be excited now. I mean, you might see him out and about, but he uh he likes country music, he likes hunting, fishing, and he don't like to be out very much, and likes to hang out with buddies, play a little ping pong. So, I mean, he's a pretty simple dude, and but I'm sure if they won a big big road win on against Alabama or something like that, or headed to a national championship, he gonna be pretty excited. But he also understands there's work to be done.
Well, it's a great conversation, Riley. I really appreciate the time. Great insight. And how are the Dragons looking?
Yeah, we're doing good. Obviously, in off season right now, about to start track, and got a talented group coming back on offense. Got a big offensive line, and got Owen Allen, who's been here forever for us. 4-year starter, is an all-time leading rusher in Carroll Dragon history, and only going into his senior year. And then Caden Anderson, who took over for Quinn, had a heck of a year. Made some all-state teams, and but we have a talented group that's coming back. We got to fill a couple holes, but we're excited to make another run at it.
You're gonna pull your dad up there just to
I told him, I said off the record, we'll make him I guess, everybody's got these fancy names now. So we'll make him like a senior analyst. Let him stay ahead he's going to
special
stay on.
assistant to the head
Yeah,
coach.
special assistant to head coach, something. We'll make a really cool title. He'll be able to still staying out in Horseshoe Bay, enjoy that, golf, hop on, some Zoom calls with me. So I think the only reason he wants a title or anything, he just wants some gear. So he's trying to use his son a little bit. That's okay.
Oh yeah. He wants to hang out with his grandkids,
No
you know?
doubt. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Riley, great stuff, man. Continued success to you, my friend, and thanks so much for the time today.
I appreciate it, Chip. Thanks for having me.
All right. For Riley Dodge, I am Chip Brown of horns247.com. We'll see you over there. Until next time here on the Flagship podcast, stay safe and keep the faith.